there's lots of questions about the validity of the CEFR, you know, in comparison with the validity of the Apple Efficiency Guidelines, all that big discussion. Is this not the type of thing that could inform that? Or is it strictly tied to the curriculum that makes the results, shows the validation of it?
I think what I'd want to say is that the benchmarks that we derived from the framework are substantially validated as a general description of an acquisitional trajectory. But you see, you'll never, I mean, because the framework and its description of levels and whatnot is language independent, you've got to go through some intermediate developmental phase, such as we went through with these benchmarks, before you can explore whether what you're predicting on the basis of the descriptors and the levels bears any relation to reality. I mean, in a sense, of course it's going to, because you can see the progression that's built into it.
But then that begs the question of Chinese and how Chinese fits into, because the CEFR was based on European languages, was it not?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it was certainly conceptualized with language learning in Europe very much in mind. But I mean, you know, the European language portfolio is it's a European portfolio, not European languages. But I don't know the answer to that. Carl, yeah.
Look, tell me if I'm on the right track here. So I think what you're saying is that you validated the benchmarks derived from the framework, not the framework itself.
That's right.
And the framework, it's exactly what it said. It's a framework that can then inform the development of specific benchmarks or specifications that will fit a particular local context. So Turkish migrants learning German may need a different set of benchmarks than, Yemenis in Ireland learning English.
To the extent, I mean, if you're thinking of the comparable context in Germany to the one we have, I mean, obviously, a version of the same translation of the framework for the German context would need to pay a lot of attention to the curriculum in primary schools in Germany and other local features, which may be different from ours or may be the same.
And I think that may be something fundamentally different than I think, Jack, what you were saying. Okay, so the actual guidelines are validated to the extent that they're validated. It's the guidelines themselves that have research saying they are valid or less valid or whatever. I think what you're saying is it's not the framework that you would want to validate or can validate, but the various instruments deriving from that framework that then have to be validated in some way. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, the levels, the descriptors in the framework were validated on the basis of teacher judgments, as I'm sure you're very well aware. But those are generalized judgments, I guess. But what I'm interested in is whether this behavioral progression that we captured in summary form in the benchmarks bears any relation to acquisitional reality. And the evidence that Brunner collected is to me very convincing. I mean, I have to say that I'd be very surprised if it weren't, but that's me.
But in theory, different L1s going into different L2s in different educational contexts, you may not get that clean progression that she found in yours.
Well, that, as they say, is an empirical question.
It is an empirical question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.